Russ, a little way further down the track in what is the longest close season any of us have known. Hopefully we're going to be looking at a starting some point in September, but apart from that we don't know a great deal else.
No, we don't. Obviously, good news the other day, the ball could start moving now. Had a load of phone calls on the weekend regarding friendlies and that, so I think everyone's taking that next step into planning for pre-season, which is great to hear. But we are still waiting on the league for a definite date.
And it's difficult, isn't it? Because whether it's the first, second, third week in September, so much depends on that, really, as you say, everything else that comes before it.
Of course, and you know what, things have got to change as well from now till September. Crowds, what we're allowed in Aggborough, friendlies behind closed doors. So there's so many more things that need to be solved before we can start moving again.
In terms of your own preference, I guess it's an obvious question, but if possible, you'd like to start the season with fans in the ground, if possible?
Oh, got to be. It needs to happen. I think we'll understand if it's a week or two, but anything longer than that, I think you've got to. The league will have to take note, but I think they understand from teams at our level, step one, step two, that we need fans at the ground for a game. So we're all on the same wavelength.
And we've all been watching the Premier League games over the last couple of months or so, but has the start of the National League North playoffs sort of continued to whet that appetite for players to get going again now? Yeah,
it feels a little bit more normal now. Obviously, it's a bit surreal when you see them and there's no noise around. It seems like a park game, but the feeling's definitely getting back, and our players are itching to get out there and get back on the grass.
What have you been able to communicate to the boys? Because I guess they've not been able to gather in front of you as yet, and you can only send so many messages of no news yet to the boys.
I feel for them a little bit, mate, because the majority of stuff we're doing is curbing their enthusiasm, to be honest, because they're so eager to get out there. This is obviously an unknown situation we've been in, and there's some players who haven't played for a long time. When I think of the likes of Kobe and Jim, they're just itching to get out there for the last part of the season, having not played for 3 or 4 months prior to that. So some of these players, I hope they're fit anyway when they get back, because some of them haven't played for 7, 8 months.
Let's talk about a couple of those, particularly Jim Kellerman and Alex Penny. Alex came and played a couple straight away before we stopped. Jim, we hoped would maybe see a few minutes of match action before the campaign finished. That was obviously shelved. They'll be big players, won't they?
Big players for the level, and Kobe Arthur as well. So I'm really happy with the group we've got at the moment. 14 players signed, which is great for this time of the season. Looks really healthy from a club point of view. But these players know the level, and they've got to want to live, breed Kidderminster Harriers next season. And if we all are in the same mould, then hopefully it'll be a successful one.
And I suppose in the same way, the likes of Jim and those who've been out injured for a while last season, with the length of the break we've had, everyone's kind of start on the same footing, aren't they?
Yeah, and Kobe Arthur as well. These players haven't played for a long time, and probably going back to the end of last year, November, December time was the last time they had games. So I hope they're fit and been looking after themselves. Because this pre-season's got to be a different one to everybody, us as players, us as staff. We've got no research to go off how to treat players after 4 months out, so it's all new to us.
And how do you go about sort of putting into place your plans for a pre-season? Is it a case of nice and steady at the beginning and then progressively making it tougher, or is it all very much a new situation? Yeah,
so me and Jimmy and Dan, we've got things in place, and we've really thought about it thoroughly. And when the players come back, we'll monitor them, we'll measure them in everything we do, and but also we've got to look after them because I want this squad as fit as possible all the way through the season.
We spoke to Jim just after Luke Maxwell had come back in. Give us your thoughts from your point of view in terms of what you're
Fantastic signing for the club, great signing for the club. He's a man mountain. He's played here before, ticks all the boxes. He's local. He's got experience, even though he's just 22, 23. And he's versatile, so if I can get him as fit as what I think I can get him, we'll have the old Luke Maxwell as we know of.
Jim rightly said that you'll keep some of your powder dry in terms of budget and resource for a couple of more faces before the season starts. Do you have an idea of a number as to how many you might like?
I want a tight-knit squad, but I'm also wary of the amount of games in a congested period. So of course we're going to dip into the loan market as we always have, but but I want a squad that every single player in that first team squad is ready to play. I don't know little outcasts going on loan and stuff early on in the season, otherwise they're not doing the job. I want everyone pushing for a starting 11 spot.
And as you rightly pointed out there, the correct use of that loan market can be a massive asset. I mean, you only have to look at Reece Williams for all of last season, and Will Mannion finished the season as literally the best player in the league. When used right, it can be huge, can't it?
It is, and you know, hopefully this year the top clubs will look after us so-called little clubs a lot more. But yeah, it's doing your research, it's knowing the right people, having that good network, and picking a player that can not just be a squad player but be a starting player.
With regards to your kind of workload at the moment and speaking to players and clubs, whether it's loans or whatever it is, fans on the outside thinking about Kidderminster Harriers haven't seen a game since March. It's far from quiet though, isn't it? Not a lot happening sort of visibly, but there's an awful lot going on behind the scenes.
There is, and one thing I will say to the fans, as we've said before, when it gets the announcement that you are allowed fans back in, it's just got to be wallop bang, let's go. Do you know what I mean? It's all got to happen really quick. As you can see by the pitch, a lot of hard work's happened at the club, at the decorators and all through the summer. There's a real feel-good factor about the place at the moment, and we've got to keep, edging that on and bringing it on through the season.